even though this is happening, I still identified and said, look, the need remains the same, right? So if I'm from a consumer perspective, I still need offline communications, right? Today I use email for that, and that's my offline communication. When I send you an email, it's an offline kind of communication. I need real-time communication. When I send you an SMS, I expect a reply back. It's near real-time. When I want to have real-time communication with you, I'll make a voice call, right? Those are my needs. I need offline communication, I need real-time communication, I need near real-time communication, and I need content services. I need to consume content services, entertainment, content-driven services. So my needs have fundamentally remained the same. But what are the trends? And this is where, again, you can draw the parallels to the Kodak example, you can draw the parallels to the Blockbuster examples, and the fact is the need is the same, but the shift is happening in the way it is consumed. So even something is so fundamental as a voice call, right? And it sounds boring, it's a standard voice call, but the consumption pattern of that is changing. It is moving from the traditional cellular networks and making calls to the Skypes, the Vibers of the world. If you look at messaging, you see the same shift, right? That transition is happening. WhatsApp, and there are so many other messaging applications that are there in the market, and this transition is happening. But the need still remains the same. And you can look at it, and it's the same for content services, right? So if I want to watch something, I'd go to YouTube, right? And that's a fundamental shift in the way consumers consume these services. So let's look at how you can define the business from an operator perspective, right? Am I a connectivity pipe? Is that how I would define my business, or am I in the business of providing rich communication experiences? And again, like I said, how you answer this question actually has a fundamental change, or there's a fundamental difference in how you'd approach these two problems. If you're a connectivity pipe, then you're defining your business within the confines of connectivity. I'm only interested in rolling out my infrastructure, and I'm going to provide connectivity for end users. If I define my business as rich communication experiences, then I'm looking at the whole thing. I'm looking at how do I bring the abstraction at the service layer back within my control, right? And at the end of the day, we all know that the cream, the dollars going forward as we move forward, it is in services. It is in providing those rich communication experiences that you can add value to customers, right? And the idea is that you add value to customers. So how do you do this? How does an operator really go about addressing this? Because, like I said, with the advent of cloud, with the advent of smartphones, there's an inevitable shift, right? Along with this inevitable shift, so how does an operator actually do this? And from my perspective and from a WaveNet perspective, what we do as a company every day is we try to work with our carrier customers to help them understand this and try and help them work towards this vision. And we believe that it all starts with abstracting the user identity. In the previous panel, they touched on the power of the operator, right? What does the operator have? The assets that an operator has. And one of the biggest assets that an operator has is subscriber identity, right? They know who you are, they're loyal to you, you have them, right? And you lock them in, and the subscriber identity on a mobile network is the fundamental thing that a customer carries with them. And it's, the SIM card that they have, the subscriber identity, is very precious to most users. So we start with looking at how the operator can abstract that user identity and move it from the confines of the physicality of the network, right? The physicality of a SIM card, and move it into the cloud, right? So you embrace the cloud, you embrace this technology shift that's happening. Very much like in a Kodak example, if they had embraced digital photography much sooner, their fate might have been different, right? So what does that do? I mean, okay, so if you abstract the user identity from the network and you move it up, what does that really do? It then allows the operator to extend the identity across the cloud. And the cloud is all about shared services. So the cloud is anytime, anywhere access. So suddenly my identity, which I have with the operator, is available for me on any device, and it could be any one of the devices that you see up there. It allows me to stay connected regardless of where I am, what I am doing, what my preferred device is at that moment in time. It breaks away the confines of the mobile phone, right? And it can be done for anybody, right? It doesn't have to be a smartphone. It can be a feature phone. You can provide this service to anybody. And that's where the real value comes. So if you do that, what does that really, from a market perspective, what that means is you can disrupt, as from an operator perspective, you can actually start disrupting entire industries, and you can you can use technology to actually disrupt. And I took the example of roaming as one of the things that you can actually disrupt, because roaming is a really good example today of a niche, right? And it's a very expensive niche for most customers. Most people who roam have two things that they do: either they try to control their cost, or because it's expensive, or they land in a foreign country and they switch SIM cards, right? And I'm sure most of us do that. We just put in a new SIM card. But what happens is then we lose our identity, right? So that number that we have, the connectivity that we have, the number that everybody knows, you're not contactable on that anymore, right? So the consumer gives something up, and in order to be, save cost. But with this paradigm shift, when you start abstracting the user into the cloud, that doesn't become a problem, right? So his identity remains with him, regardless of whether he's in Sri Lanka, regardless of whether he's in Malaysia, and he's not bound by the confines of roaming agreements or high roaming tariffs. All those things do not become a concern for him. He's free. You free the consumer, you move him up into the cloud. The same way as if I was consuming music today and I have my music on iCloud, right? I can be here, I can be listening to my music on my iPhone. I can go home, I can start listening to my music on my computer, my MacBook, and I have my music available to me. In the same concept, I'm available on my number wherever I am, right, on whatever device I am. And that's a fundamental shift in the paradigm. So you're actually crossing boundaries, and you're freeing the user up to cross these boundaries seamlessly, right? So they don't have to change SIM cards, they don't have to do anything, there's no provisioning involved, it's seamless. The next part of what the operators have is the ability to federate, right? And it's an untapped area today for most operators in the world, particularly in the developing world. Is if you look at operators and the assets that they own customers, right? And they have, big operators can have 40, 50 million customers sometimes. At the same time, if you look at the internet world, there are millions of users on the internet side. And one thing that the operators can do is they can actually start federating with these networks so that you can have seamless connectivity and seamless interfacing between two networks. So again, by abstracting myself out of the physicality of a network, I have the ability to federate with multiple internet networks. I can call, text, I can be involved in these networks seamlessly, simultaneously, at any given point of time, and from any device. And that, again, is again a paradigm shift, because the business model for the operators changes. You don't actually have to have only customers from your physical geography. You can actually have customers who are operating entirely in the cloud, right? And that itself helps to drive the value, because that elevates the operator. While the service abstraction is happening, it helps the operator reach a level of service within the cloud that they would otherwise not be able to. I wanted to end with this, which was the Empire Strikes Back. We sincerely believe that the operator has really strong assets, and it is underutilized and underdeveloped. And I think that if you start with a subscriber identity, you can unlock these assets. And when you unlock these assets, the operators actually can start taking back some of the things that they were used to, which is control of service ecosystems. And I think going forward, that is fundamental for operators. They need to open up their networks, true, but at the same time, they need to have compelling service offerings that give users the alternatives, and give users alternatives in a more controlled, quality of service oriented manner. Thank you very much.